In Ecuador, a law that was recently passed to impose new taxes on the financial sector and the new presidential candidate from the banking sector marked the latest chapter of the conflict between the private banks and the Correa administration. Tension has been escalating over the last few months as the bank's CEOs have sent letters and emails to an ever-growing number of people, sparking doubts in the health of the economic system. The legislation was debated and later passed on the National Assembly will set higher taxes on the financial sector in order to finance for the increase in the Human Development Bond, a subsidy to the poorest from $30 to $50 a month, in a country where the minimum wage is only $292 a month. Correa's proposed legislation called for a raise of 3% on taxable incomes of financial institutions, as well as a new monthly tax of 0.25% on their assets worldwide, that will increase to 0.35% if those assets are in foreign tax havens. It is worth knowing that Miami is among those tax havens. The law project also suggests a 12% tax to financial services. It will eliminate special tax breaks allowed to the bankers, set limits for executive salaries, control their utilities, and give the government more access to information about the banks and the accounts on them. The second factor in this conflict is a new presidential candidate, Guillermo Lasso, who is a member of the old political class that brought about the neoliberal policies and was also responsible for the deregulation of capital controls in 1994. It was this process 20 years ago that is believed to be the origin of the crisis that Ecuador is now only emerging from. Lasso is one of Ecuador's main bankers. He recently stepped down as CEO of Banco de Guayaquil and is now running for president in Ecuador's upcoming February 2013 elections. We spoke with Hernan Ramos, the main journalist and historian when it comes to the economic crisis. Hernan broke many of the fundamental stories and reports during the years of economic crisis.
Entonces, cuando Lazo se lanza de candidato, la banca entra en el radar político del presidente y toma una deriva que está significando serios dolores de cabeza para el sistema financiero y para los líderes de la banca en general, particularmente con la financiación de este bono que se está discutiendo. Y de hecho hoy se aprobó ya en el Congreso la ley, el proyecto de ley para poder financiar el incremento del bono de desarrollo humano con una parte de las actividades de la banca. De alguna manera ese factor es endosable políticamente a Lazo, porque fue que propuso la idea inicial. Obviamente la propuesta de financiamiento era muy distinta, y entonces en este escenario la banca empieza a estar nuevamente en el centro del radar político del presidente, y el conflicto se está avivando y no va a terminar, pienso yo, en este momento. Se va a escalar en esa relación conflictiva entre el gobierno y la banca privada. La banca privada, que representa un poder económico gigante, está manejando alrededor de 22 mil millones de dólares de depósitos de la gente.
According to Ramos, the president was clever to take Lasso's proposal and make the capital holders pay for it, not the lower income taxpayers. This is a good political move as the elections approach. However, he says the banks are now stronger than before the 1999 crisis. In the midst of the banking crisis that led to dollarization, there was political and social chaos for the middle class and the poor. However, the rich did very well. On data released in 2012 by Ecuador's Association of Private Banks, we can see that many economic sectors increased their yearly income up to an extra 23% in average per year since dollarization. In the case of the banks, those that were saved with public money grew stronger with the subsequent free flow of currency. Dollars printed in USA by the Fed, the banks now control a bigger share of the economy than before 1999. As an example, says Ramos,
la banca está controlando el mercado del dinero en el Ecuador en volúmenes muy grandes y en cantidades de bancos relativamente pequeñas. Cuando quiebra el sistema financiero en el 99, teníamos 42 bancos. Hoy tenemos 33 bancos grandes, es decir, 10 bancos menos que en aquella época, con el triple de dinero y masa monetaria que lo está administrando. Entonces, el sistema financiero se ha dado a dos fenómenos. El primero, una alta concentración de capital, es decir, hay una generación de riqueza y esa riqueza se está canalizando a través de la banca, una alta concentración de capital y también hay una alta concentración de las ganancias. Entonces, este doble fenómeno realmente ha generado un punto de quiebre y de disputa política en el gobierno a partir de la presencia, como digo, de Lazo en el juego político que está por definirse el próximo año.
However, this conflict reached society on a level that surpassed the political realm. On November the 12th, the clients of 4 mainstream banks received a letter and an email from Banco del Pichincha, Banco de Guayaquil, Banco Bolivariano, and Produbanco. On the letter, there were expressed doubts about the health of the economy. This is the translation of a portion of the text.
For the country's economy to function, it takes the banks to take good care of every cent you have in your account. This commitment is at risk if the banks are managed with a political criteria, not a technical one.
The letter is signed by the executive president and the board's CEO of each of Ecuador's major banks. This letter was delivered to almost every active member of the Ecuadorian economy, given the fact that those are the main private banks. The letters are sparking doubts on the health of the economy and even rumors of another corralito, like the one in 1999 when the banks closed for a week and the currency lost 90% of its worth in less than 10 days. One could speculate that the financial power players risked a run on their banks by making a political move against the financial tax reform when sending said letter.
In the United States, again, I emphasize, this, as far as I know, has never happened in world history. But it would, to spread false rumors about a bank being unhealthy, it is actually a crime in several U.S. states. And regardless of whether it's a state crime, it is an unsafe and unsound practice under U.S. regulatory law. I think it's an act of strategic desperation. In other words, this is all, of course, in the context of the re-election battle, where Correa is the incumbent with a PhD in economics, Yale economics, and his opponent is a leading banker. And all the polls are suggesting that Correa is going to win a third term and win it strongly. And the banks appear to be panicking, more precisely the CEOs of the banks appear to be panicking about what all of this can mean.
On November 19, 8 of Ecuador's top bankers were sanctioned by the Banking Regulatory Agency with a $7,886 fine each, and were also compelled to rectify their actions. While the letter was a way of putting pressure against the tax reform law on the National Assembly and the public opinion, it did not achieve its political goals. The law was passed at the National Assembly on November the 20th. The very same day, President Rafael Correa sent a letter to Produbanco asking for the bank to close its own checking account. In the letter, Correa holds nothing back, reminding the banks of their responsibility for the economic crisis in 1999 and the bailouts they then received in order to avert possible bankruptcy. He criticized the bank's letter for reminding the people of their constitutional legal duty of caring for the deposits, almost as if it would be a sacrifice, characterizing that as lack of confidence in the country. He then reminds them of the substantial gains they've got over the last years, with an economy based on foreign dollars and almost no central bank intervention. Finally, after demanding the immediate closing of his personal checking account, he continued to say he will open an account with Banco del Pacifico, a bank that was taken by the state after the '99 crisis and is now run by the government. The political temperature has risen since the project for increasing taxes on the profits of financial institutions and banks was launched. It will seem that Rafael Correa is effectively taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Despite the opposing candidates on mainstream TV denouncing that Correa is playing 21st century Robin Hood, so far the 2013 presidential election polls seem to favor that idea. Reporting for The Real News, this is Oscar Leon.